Campfire Classics is a classic literature podcast. However, your hosts will occasionally use not-so-classy language and immature humor to describe very mature situations. As such, listener discretion is advised. Hi, I'm Ken Sandberg.
And I'm Heather Michelle Lawler.
Welcome to Campfire Classics, where we try to read those books that look really good on your shelf.
It's my birthday!
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday.
It's a big one.
Happy birthday.
It's a big birthday. Well, pop to the champagne for two reasons. One, we're together.
Yeah.
So yes, it's my birthday. Hi. It's a big one. It's my
30th birthday.
It's definitely my 30th birthday for the 10th time. Yeah, it's on the 2nd. So this episode will be coming out a couple days before it.
Real close to that, though, yeah.
Yeah, so
send birthday wishes.
So send birthday wishes to Heather.
To Campfire Classics social media or to 5050artsproduction@gmail.com.
Yes.
Wish her a happy birthday. Sing her a little song.
40 years old, and that's kind of scary.
Videos of some happy birthday dancing. That'd be cool.
Happy birthday dancing, stupid songs you make up, cute animals. I accept all things.
Quokkas and red pandas are especially.
Quokkas! Yeah, red pandas. Sloths. Yeah, I accept all. So, hello from the Norwegian Joy. Hi, everyone. So we are actually currently in the Bermuda Triangle while we record this, too, which is pretty cool.
Spookular. Saw some pretty cool shooting stars last night.
I saw the craziest shooting star I've ever seen in my life. It was like a comet. Like, not even a comet. It looked like a fucking, like... It looked like one of those apocalypse things that's going to hit the earth. Like, it was on fire. And Ken explained to me that it burned up in the inner atmosphere as opposed to the outer atmosphere. So they're very rare, but when they happen...
It just got a little closer, so it looked a lot cooler.
And myself and one of my other castmates, Maria, both saw it. And I'm so glad we both saw it, because if I was the only one that saw it, I'd be like, did that happen? What? Nope, but we both saw it at the same time, and I literally yelled, holy shit, because it was very apocalyptic. So, but yeah, so we saw some cool stuff. We saw some planets.
We saw Mars. It looked like a spaceship.
Yeah, because it was like super red, because we saw Mars as it was rising over the horizon, and it was like super red.
Oh, yeah, the color, it was, the color that was coming that low to the horizon, it was... It literally looked like one of those, the flashing red lights on top of like a cell tower or something.
Yeah, it was, and like there was kind of a mist in the air last night, and it was a new moon.
Mm-hmm.
So like it was a great Bermuda Triangle sailing experience.
Yeah. So welcome to Campfire Classics, and hello from the Bermuda apocalypse.
Hey.
I was keeping my eyes peeled for Amelia Earhart, but I did not find her last night. Well, you
still have tonight.
There's still time. Yeah.
We don't land in Bermuda till tomorrow, so you got...
And technically, Bermuda is still the corner of the triangle, so...
One tip of it.
Yeah.
Like the very far tip. So we'll sail right past it. Like...
Yeah, it's just the tip.
Just the tip. Just the tip, baby.
Sometimes just the tip is all it takes.
I guess so.
You can still get pregnant from just the tip?
Ew, no, let's not go there. I don't know. Well, I mean, I guess you can, but like, I don't know.
You can, only if it goes badly.
Yeah, if it goes that's a very unfortunate moment.
Everyone is disappointed if that's what happens.
That's just not it right there, yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so we are sailing, and Ken's enjoying the cruise, and I'm excited for him to be in Bermuda. We were in the Bahamas yesterday.
Hung out on a beach in a rainstorm.
Before that, we were in the very majestic and elusive setting of Port Canaveral, Florida.
Where we drank margaritas out of coconuts.
Mm-hmm. And saw a couple strip clubs. You know, it felt very, very Florida.
Sure.
It's the place where a week ago I held a baby alligator while putt-putt golfing. That is the most Florida thing you can do. And I was drinking a can of, like, vodka soda. So it's very, like, super classy.
Yeah. On that day, when we were in Port Canaveral, someone sent me, I don't even remember who, but someone sent me the headline. The Florida Man headline from that day was Florida Man arrested for attempting to buy a child.
Yeah. Well, we had the Florida Men on Florida Man on our podcast once. And, every time I go to Florida, I'm like, there is a reason that there is an entire podcast dedicated to these people.
To just the insanity of Florida.
Literally just like being off the ship for like 4.5, 5 hours. I'm like, I could write a story about 12 of these people. Like half of my castmates who are self-identifying gender queer were in a mall, and they stumbled upon one of those stores that sells the fuck Biden Trump is my president flags and stuff like that, which they posed in front of like majestic queens that they are. And
the pictures are fabulous. So here's the thing about that flag, the fuck Biden flag, is at least I appreciate that they're just saying it and not hiding behind let's go Brandon.
Oh, no, there was a flag of that, too. You saw that, right?
I did, yeah. But I'm like, if you're going to just say it, just say it.
Yeah, I didn't even know who the fuck Brandon was, so Ken told me this, like a couple months ago, and I was like, what? I was like, that's just stupid. I'm like, oh, you're so clever.
You're allowed to just say the thing. Just say the thing.
But yeah, there was one of those let's go Brandon's flags hanging next to the fuck Biden, Trump's my president flags.
Yeah.
And then Jack just standing in front like, fabulous. I was like, I would have loved to have been there just to be looking at the person behind the like cash register, just to like see him like exploding. And then Jack made the joke. He goes, and my grinder just blew up when I walked by that. I was like, you know what? I believe it.
Yeah. Yeah. My favorite T-shirt that showed up in the picture was one where it said size does matter. And it was bullets, pictures of bullets by caliber. Size. And I was like, we always knew somewhere that those guns are compensating for something. But now you're like, your subtext is becoming your text, people.
Yeah,
You're doing our job for us.
You do realize that is the joke, right? That we think you're compensating with your giant guns because your dick is so tiny. Yeah, well, now we know. I guess that is actually true.
All right. Well, that was a solid 7 minutes of some anti-Florida politics.
Hey, it's my birthday. I can bash DeSantis and his poo face all he wants.
You can bash whoever you want.
I actually really like a lot of people who live in Florida, but even the people who live in Florida will say, Florida's got some fucked up shit going down.
Yeah. There are some great things in Florida. I'm hoping to get back to Sarasota soon.
Me too. I love Sarasota. Yeah. And there's some crazy people there, but there's also some really good theater. So I
had my first real professional gig in Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah. My sister was born in Panama City, Florida.
Yeah.
Which is a very special place if you've been.
Good things come out of Florida. Mostly they come out of Florida.
Yeah, usually people evacuate, and then when they get old they go back because it's tax-free and all that stuff.
And the weather's nice.
The weather is nice. It gets effing hot. Well, it's snowbirds.
Yep, they're there for the winter.
They don't go down there in the summer because whoo-wee.
And then they all come back to Wisconsin.
Yep, and Ohio and Iowa and New York.
Yep.
And yep. They know what's up. But yeah.
Or they just spend the summer cruising.
Well, that is a thing now. So there are cruise ship companies now planning to launch residential cruise ships, because there are people that are now choosing, instead of to buy into a retirement home, to just cruise constantly. And because it ends up being cheaper, which is pretty depressing that our fucking elderly care is that bad that people can afford luxury cruises over a affordable retirement center.
So do you think if I were to bank enough weeks working for the union, my health insurance would cover a retirement home cruise?
I guess once you're over 65, yes, or 55, or whatever the age is now.
Could I get Actors Equity to pay for my retirement cruise?
They might. I mean, that's a long way off, boo. But once
it's
we're there.
It's a long way off, but it's getting closer every year.
once we're there, I mean, why not? Equity, are you listening? I am a moderator on one of those pages. So maybe I will post that question. Be like, I just read an article saying that there will be now residential cruise ships for retirees. Is this going to be covered by insurance?
I want to start a cruise company. And
Okay.
I want the cruise company's thing to be like classy cruises of yore. So like
Titanic.
Minus the sinking.
Oh yeah. Well, they're rebuilding a replica of the Titanic.
I can't imagine how that could go badly.
Right? And like tickets are going for like so much money, but they're building a replica like down to like the decor, and they're going to have like dress code and like are they going to sell tickets to the shitty like area where they locked people to their desks? Like, oh yes, please sign me up for Irishman #2 steerage that gets locked into a corridor.
And are they going to use like clear plexi where the hole was so that you can see out the side of the ship?
Yeah, I wonder, you know what? That's not true. They won't put people down on the steerage. They'll just put the crew down there.
They'll put the crew down there.
That's where the crew will be.
Well, also, I'm just thinking an exact replica of the Titanic is going to be roughly the size of one of the lifeboats on this ship.
It's not big. Well, yeah, they're not big. I mean, like the Titanic in comparison to like the ship I'm on right now, is so tiny, so small because it's only like, I think it was only like 8 decks or something like that. This one has 17, 19 at parts of the ship. So yeah like it'll be more the size of the Sky, the ship we saw yesterday. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, like that's kind of your idea is like cruises of yore, but
it's all like
would there be a pirate cruise?
Old fashions and jazz bands.
Ooh, I like that.
All old fashions and jazz bands. Like there's a jazz singer performing every night. And we'll go ahead and say in a very medieval times sort of way, one night of every cruise, a pirate ship comes alongside and boards, and so you have to deal with a pirate invasion.
Or you become pirates.
Well,
I like that it's like pirate night. Like some cruise ships have formal night. Like that night is pirate night, and then
it's how do you deal with the invasion?
Oh,
do you
murder mystery night? Do you try to fight
them? Do you try to fight them off, or do you join them?
I would join them because if you fight them off, you're probably gonna die.
Yeah.
If you join them, you're like, yeah, I'm good, and then you get to the next port, and you're like, bye. Like, just run away at the pub. No one will even know.
Pirate cruise. It's basically just a floating Renn Fair.
Yeah. Yes. That would be a brilliant, actually, like, cruise line is like pirate cruises or like Pirates of the Caribbean cruises. Disney, if you're listening, trademark, get in touch with me. If they built a cruise ship that was like replicated after, I mean, it'd be bigger, clearly.
Right.
But it'd be replicated
Aesthetically
as a pirate ship. Like a lot of wood, a lot of like sails and pirate flags.
And lots of rum drinks.
So much rum, which is here anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like.
And instead of jazz bands, it's just like
accordions and like fucking like
sea shanties,
sea shanty bands, sea shanty bands, and they do Pirates of Penzance on there.
The only production show, Pirates of Penzance.
And what's the other one? The pirate woman, there's a
Pirate Queen,
the Pirate Queen,
by Boublil and Schoenberg.
Boublil and Schoenberg, who did Les Mis and Miss Saigon.
There's got to be a third pirate.
Oh, there has to be. I'm sure there is. If you know of the third pirate musical, please mail in and let us know. There has to be.
All right. So really got to get to work on that Blackbeard musical.
There it is. Well, see?
Yep.
Shh, trademark. What are we doing? Like, what do we do on this podcast other than create, discuss politics and corporation ideas?
Yeah, just give away free ideas for making...
Listen to Campfire Classics, where we will make you a millionaire.
Just the business ideas, they keep coming.
Damn it.
So welcome to Campfire Classics, not a politics podcast and not a Shark Tank podcast. In fact, a literary comedy podcast where we cold read short stories that we pull out of the public domain. We try to muscle our way through them as best as we can for you, dear listener, live to tape. And along the way, we look up words that we're not familiar with and make fun of penis jokes of yore.
Penis jokes of yore, along with cruise ships of yore.
And that's basically our whole shtick. And this week, I have selected a story for Heather to read, or attempt to read anyway, to you, dear listener, sight unseen, and we're going to see how that goes. But first, I'm going to read just a few fun facts. To try to sort of get us in the mood for the story. So, this week's fun facts are kind of short, despite this being a new author. Not by choice so much as necessity, because this guy's Wikipedia page is 2 paragraphs long.
Love it.
So Victor Bridges was born in March 1878 with the name Victor George Dufresne.
Isn't that the name of the guy in Shawshank Redemption? Something Dufresne. It's Dufresne. That's the last name of the main guy.
Yeah.
William Dufresne? They just keep calling him Dufresne.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Let me tell you about this motherfucker named
Dufresne. I know.
Bobby Dufresne?
I know. Fuck,
Robert
it's like one of my
Dufresne?
favorite movies, too. I'm pissed now. But it's Dufresne. Anyway.
Eddie Dufresne?
No.
Marky Mark?
Marky Mark, yeah. It's Marky Mark. Marky Mark Dufresne. Well, also
Stuff's
Bridges.
delicious.
Yeah, see this. We're drinking Cava, which I learned is a really good substitute for Prosecco and Champagne, y'all. It's Spanish sparkling wine. And it just has
so smooth.
It's
There's
so
just
smooth.
Nothing.
So go check out a Cava if you're looking for some sparkly. Here, that's your tip from the Norwegian Joy.
So Victor George Dufresne, later known as Victor Bridges, might have been part of the wealthy Dufresne family in Sligo, Ireland, but his parentage is weirdly mysterious. I have no idea who his parents were. Apparently the internet doesn't either, so maybe he's part of that family. Maybe he wasn't.
Cool.
Yeah. He went to school at Haileybury Imperial Service College near Hertford, England, before becoming a bank employee and then an actor.
Weird, because Dufresne in Shawshank Redemption is a banker.
Huh.
Yeah. And anyway, sorry, I'm geeking out about Shawshank.
So he becomes a bank employee for a few years, decides he doesn't like it, becomes an actor for a few years at a rep theater.
Good for him.
Does okay. And then after writing a couple of plays for the theater, becomes a writer full time.
You know what? Make your own work. You'll never stop working.
Yeah.
It's true.
So in 1909, so when he's 31 years old, he started publishing.
It's almost my age.
He started writing full time and got a couple of novels published. And he continued writing and publishing with relative success until he died in 1972.
Whoa.
So over the 6 decades that he was publishing, he wrote around 50 books, a handful of plays, and 2 volumes of poetry.
Wow.
He was also married for 37 years. She died 15 years before he did. And that is the sum total of easily accessible information on the guy.
Wow.
He was apparently quite popular in his day, like popular enough that he supported himself as a writer professionally, but not so popular that anybody wanted to know anything about him or write down anything about his personal life.
I feel like somebody, one of my academic friends out there, and I have quite a few because I've met and like when they're getting their doctorates and stuff, I'm like, academic friends, someone who's in the literary vein, you should do some research on this writer and
Victor Bridges.
Victor
Yeah,
Bridges.
you've got a couple of people.
I've got a lot of friends who are in dramaturgy and like
and someone who is or was in publishing, right? Someone through Mark Fisher.
Lauren, yeah.
Yes.
I have friends in publishing, I have friends in dramaturgy and like research of like literary, like I have a couple friends who are librarians. So, I feel like this person, I guess we should read the story first.
It's possible nobody cared because he was actually trash.
This could be terrible, but if it's good, you should check out this man.
Anyway, fortunately, his writing did survive, even if writing about him didn't.
That's good.
And the book, so the story that I wanted to have you read was called The Cruise of the Scandal.
Aww.
Unfortunately, it's like twice as long as anything we ever read. It'd be a two-parter episode, so maybe down the road. Okay. But I didn't want to spring that on you today. But from his book, The Cruise of the Scandal and Other Stories, published in 1920, you will be reading today a story called The Man with the Chin.
Okay.
Let's start this fire.
Don't start the fire too bad or we'll get a code Bravo and they're going to show up. The Man with the Chin by Victor Bridges. I shouldn't like to marry a man with a chin like that, said the girl in red.
What a bitch.
I love her. Her companion, a ferret-faced young gentleman with his hair parted in the middle, inserted his eyeglass and stared deliberately across the room. Okay.
I already love these people.
I love him. I love this writer. That's it. Okay.
I hate them both, but I already love these characters.
Yeah, I love these characters. Okay. Obstinate-looking beggar, what? He drawled. Unconscious of these criticisms, George Leslie sat at his solitary table, only looking up from his newspaper whenever the door of the room opened to admit a fresh arrival.
Oh, he's waiting for someone.
It was on the 6th occasion that his inspection appeared to be successful. His lips parted in a smile, and laying down his paper, he rose quietly from his chair. Quietly. I wanted it to be quickly, but it was quietly. He rose quietly from his chair. The girl in red nudged her companion. She's come at last. Kept him waiting long enough. The ferret-faced young man indulged himself in another leisurely survey. Worth it, too, by Jove, he ejaculated admiringly.
Yes!
Oh, my God!
Why have we not read this guy yet?
It's been a long time since we ejaculated on here.
It has been entirely too long since we ejaculated.
You know what? It's because of my birthday.
Yes.
Thank you for the birthday.
This is a birthday ejaculation.
It's not birthday sex. It's birthday ejaculation on Campfire Classics. Oh my God. Well, damn, Victor Bridges, living the dream.
Dude, like 3 paragraphs, and I am so hoping that this story rocks because I'm already into it so far.
It's very Oscar Wilde-ish.
Yeah.
So far.
I like that he ejaculated after essentially saying, "Oh, she's hot."
Oh, she's hot, and he ejaculated. That's the funniest part. It's like, oh, damn. Amazing. Admiringly? Yes. He ejaculated admiringly.
I mean, every once in a while, I admire someone so much that I just have to ejaculate.
Well, I hope that when you ejaculate, most of the time, it's because you're admiring someone or some idea of something. Like, usually...
There is certainly an amount of admiration.
Good. Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's good. It's good. All right, so we're ejaculating. His criticism, if a trifle crude in expression, was sound enough in taste. The girl who had just come in was most distinctly worth waiting for.
Yeah, she was.
Beautifully dressed, with a shy yet charming prettiness, she moved across the tea worm.
Usually the worm's in tequila.
I know. I was like, I want tequila worm, apparently. She moved across the tea room towards Leslie and held out her hand with a little smile of apology. "I'm so sorry," she said. "I know I'm dreadfully late." There was a momentary twinkle in Leslie's gray eyes. 21.5 minutes, he said. "Not a record, Nancy, by a long way." Aww. Oh, they're cute. She's always late, and he's like, I keep track, and it's okay. I still care.
Not even 22 minutes.
Honey.
I haven't even had my third champagne yet. You're
I'm not
fine.
even worried, darling. You look, yeah. She sat down in a chair, which he pulled up, and began to take off her gloves. There's one nice thing about you, she answered, looking at him with frank affection. You never mind people being late, do you? Aw, I fucking hate when people are late.
Yeah, me and Nancy would not get along great.
Yeah, I'd just be annoyed by Nancy. I'd be like, come on, Nancy.
She would have to be more than exceptionally
hot.
Admirable.
Hot.
in order for me to get past that kind
Except
of lateness.
for the fact that she's always late. Yeah.
Apparently, always like 20 minutes late.
At least, yeah. That's rough, man. Like, I got shit to do. I ain't got no time. All right. I occasionally make an exception in business hours, said Leslie. Oh, business! She shrugged her pretty shoulders. I expect you're simply horrid in business, George. I'm sure you bully all those poor people at the garage dreadfully. Leslie shook his head. I leave that to Morton these days. My time's taken up in making them miserable at the works. He's like, I don't scold them for being late. I just work them to the fucking bone. The girl laughed. I can just see you, she said. I suppose you stick your chin out and growl at them like you do me when you're cross.
Ooh.
Damn.
All right.
He must have a really nice, pointy chin or something. He must have a very distinct chin because the woman across the way noticed it.
And then would never marry a man with a chin like that.
And then she just said, I suppose you stick your chin out to get their attention. So now I'm seeing like Fagin from Oliver, which has like in the cartoons, like a chin.
I was thinking Jay Leno.
Yeah, but more pointy. more pointy and dick-like.
Dick-like as in it makes him look like a dick?
No,
or dick-like as in it looks like he has a penis hanging off his face?
Have you ever seen cartoons of Fagin from Oliver, like those cartoons where the guys have really long chins? It's always animated.
Yes. I've never thought of them as looking like a penis.
Well, because I'm a lady and you're a man and never mind.
My history in just conversations with people leads me to believe that men are more likely to be thinking about penises than women are.
That is true. I mean, sometimes.
And weirdly, straight men are most likely of all to be thinking about penises.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is. It just seems to hold true.
It is what it is. All right, so he's got his dick chin out. I suppose you stick your chin out and growl at them like you do at me when you're cross. Something the same way, admitted Leslie. Only not quite so violent. You see, they're not often as irritating as you are, Nancy. Which is kind of cold. Damn.
I feel like they've got
There's a weird relationship here.
I mean, they've got a dom sub kind of relationship going on
something's
here.
Going on. She looked at him mischievously and then suddenly clasped her hands. Oh, George, she said, I'd quite forgotten. Are you doing anything next Wednesday? Nothing more than usual, said Leslie, about 8 hours' work. Oh, that's all right then. It's Father's and Mother's wedding day, and the old dears want to celebrate it in some way. I suggested that we should go for a motor picnic to Beechwood, just the three of us, and get you to drive us. Don't you think it's a lovely idea? You know there's an old church there where Cardinal Worsley was married or died or did something, and you and I can get together after lunch and have a look at it. Both Father and Mother don't care for that sort of thing, and they won't mind my going with you. You know Father's taken quite a fancy to you since you came round that day and showed him the new car. Ooh, she's after this guy, and she's Mommy and Daddy don't suspect anything, and we can go to the church and get nasty.
Yes, Cardinal Wolsey did something here. Nobody really cares, but
anyway,
it's dark and
get
secluded.
Nasty in a pew. You want to get...
I'll even try to be on time.
Leslie leaned back in his
if
chair.
I'm not, you can spank me.
Leslie leaned back in his chair and looked at her with a kind of amused gravity. Then he shook his head. Things can't go on like this, Nancy, he said. Her dark blue eyes opened innocently. Can't go on like what? She inquired.
This bitch.
I mean, I can't go on deceiving your people in this way. Nancy drew back, pouting. Oh, George, dear, I thought we'd settled all that. I'm so glad I'm getting to read this one. This is great.
This?
Leslie smiled. You settled it, Nancy. I didn't. But at the best, it was only to be a temporary arrangement. Well, in my opinion, the time has come to end it. Oh, no. We're gonna, da. But we can't end it, dear, protested Nancy, helping herself delicately to a chocolate eclair. She shoves like an entire eclair in. Oh, no, I think she's...
Nope.
She's using the eclair as like... It's like... This story is amazing.
I actually imagine it would be surprisingly difficult to seductively eat a chocolate eclair.
There is nothing sexy about it other than, I guess, the phallic shape. But, like, it's like the chocolate would gloop on your mouth.
Yeah.
And, like, the cream will just, like,
the cream will come out the wrong end.
The wrong end. It'll, like, it's like...
You'll end up with blacked out teeth and cream down the front of your shirt.
I mean, I guess some people are into that. I don't know. Like... Some people like that. I don't know, but and she shoves a chocolate eclair in her mouth. Why not? Asked Leslie. I can go to your father and ask him whether he has any objection to me as a son-in-law. Oh!
I'm not trying to call it off. He just wants it to stop being in secret.
He's like, this needs to stop. He goes, I know I'm below. It sounds like he is like a working class guy and she's very much an upper class.
It's Branson and Sybil.
It's Branson and Sybil. Which they play on the crew TV on the ship over and over, the same like 4 episodes. All right, so lovely. Okay, so he just wants to get married. I think she just likes the scandal. She's super into the scandal. I can go to your father and ask him whether he has any objection to me as a son-in-law. If he has, well, at least we shall know where we are, and then you can make up your mind what you're going to do. Now you're being horrid, said Nancy. You know very well father won't let me marry you. He thinks because you've made your money yourself and because you run a motor car business that I'm not a gentleman, finished Leslie, smiling good-naturedly. Well, I can't help that, Nancy. Perhaps he's right. My point is that it doesn't alter the question. If you're going to marry me, you'll have to do it someday, either with or without your father's consent. There's no hurry, protested Nancy weakly. Not the least, admitted Leslie. But... on the other hand, there's no reason for waiting. The business is bringing me in an excellent income, and we're only wasting both our lives. He's like, I want to bang, bang, bangity bang.
Instead of bang, bang, bangity bang, 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 bangity bang.
Nancy stirred her tea and looked at him sorrowfully. George, she said, you'll make me cry if you go on like that. Why can't we stop as we are, just a little longer? Something's sure to turn up. Leslie shook his head. Nothing ever turns up in this world unless people dig for it. Come, Nancy. Well, that got nasty.
We know what he's digging for.
Come, Nancy. I'll dig for it. Apparently the eclair worked. Who knew?
I did say difficult, not impossible.
Yeah, and you know.
Some people can make anything sexy.
Some people can. what is that Paris Hilton ad from like the early 2000s of her like eating a Carl's Jr. like cheeseburger on a like car?
I remember the ad. Was that Paris Hilton?
That was Paris Hilton.
Oh.
And it's just like dripping all over her body. It's like the ketchup's just like dripping down on her like body. And like she's just laying on a car, like eating the like messiest burger you've ever seen. I mean, there
so
you go.
Two things. One, I didn't register that was Paris Hilton.
Yeah.
Second, I remember that ad. I remember it actively not making me crave Carl's Jr.'s cheeseburgers.
No, it's I mean, it was like they're literally just selling sex and they're like, maybe it'll make you hungry, I guess.
Hungry, but not for a cheeseburger.
Yeah. Come, Nancy. He smiled at her. If you like me well enough to marry me, surely you don't mind my asking your father whether he objects. I know you dislike rows and unpleasantness of any kind, but there must be a limit to everything. Nancy wriggled rather unhappily in her chair, looking prettier than ever. Ooh.
Sexy.
Wriggling. She's like, oh, I'm so uncomfortable. I don't know what to do, she said forlornly.
You dumb bitch, I just told you what to do.
I think she likes The Secret.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. Secrets are sexy.
Yeah, sometimes, it is what it is. I'm awfully fond of you, George, and I would like to marry you. Really, I would, dear. But I simply can't go and have a nasty, silly squabble with father and mother. You know they wouldn't hear of it. They're frightfully old-fashioned, both of them, and they think I'm sure to marry a duke or something. If I told them I wanted to marry you, they'd have a fit. I might just as well say I was going to run away with the coachman. Give me some more tea, dear. Leslie, who did not seem to be the least annoyed, poured her out a second cup.
Patience of a saint, this man.
Well, it seems pretty plain, Nancy, he said, that you'll have to choose between me and your love of peace. Oh!
Ah, the old tomato.
Ah, yes. She looked at him with a kind of mock despair. Oh, George, are you going to... Oh, George, are you going to desert me?
She had trouble with that one because the eclair was in the way.
Yeah, her eclair's still in the mouth. She's chewing. Oh, George, are you going to desert me just when you... Oh, George, are you going to desert me just when I want your help? I didn't think you were like that, or I shouldn't have loved you. But you must make up your mind one way or another, protested Leslie, laughing. Nancy shook her head despairingly. What's the good of telling me that, George? You know I can't make up my mind. I never could. Someone's always had to do it for me. Let's just go on as we were for a bit. It's awfully nice loving each other and no one knowing about it. And perhaps you'll save Father's life or something. It's like, we can stage a drowning, and then you can save him, and then he'll be like, anything you want.
I'll push him in front of a car.
If that's all it depends on, said Leslie ironically, we may as well be printing the invitations. Now, you're not going to stick out your chin like that and look cross, said Nancy. It's just as tiresome for me as it is for you, and you ought to be nice and sympathetic instead of being grumpy. I'm not a bit cross, really, said Leslie. I should as soon think of getting cross with a flower as with you. Aww. Nancy brightened up wonderfully. Oh, that's so sweet of you, George. I love people to say things like that to me, and you so seldom do. Then she paused and looked at him with mischievous, pleading eyes. And will you come and drive us on Wednesday, won't you, dear? She added. The corners of Leslie's mouth twitched. Nancy, he said, you're as wicked as you're beautiful. Oh, dear, said Nancy. That's the second in 2 minutes.
All right.
And then we have a asterisk, so time has passed.
Dun dun.
Colonel Peyton pushed back his plate and got up from the breakfast table. Well, it's a lovely day, he observed, looking out the window. I hope that young man will be punctual. Are you women ready?
So this is going to be Nancy's dad?
Yes, clearly.
Yeah.
Did you ever know Mother late for anything, Father? Inquired Nancy calmly. Yep. Yes. Colonel Peyton chuckled and shook his finger at her. It's you I'm thinking of, miss, he said. You're the one that will keep us waiting. Come along, said Mrs. Peyton, and put your things on, darling. We mustn't keep the car standing. Mrs. Peyton, having been brought up with horses, had never been able to rid herself of the idea that a motor became restless under such treatment.
We have to go. The car's going to get bored.
It's going to get bored. I mean, it will run out of gas, to be fair.
Yeah, which is a whole different thing.
Yeah. Nancy laughed and accompanied her mother upstairs, from which region she shortly emerged, looking bewitchingly demure and pretty in a sort of Kate Greenaway cloak and bonnet. The colonel, who was just struggling into his coat, gazed at her with fond approval. Very nice, Nancy, he said. Very nice. You remind me of your mother.
Careful.
Yeah. The compliment, to Colonel Peyton, it was a very genuine compliment, had hardly left his lips when he came...
Wow.
Gross. Had hardly left his lips when there came the loud hum of a motor car driving up to the house.
A Hummer.
Nancy stepped forward and opened the door. Punctual to the minute, observed the colonel triumphantly. It's a pleasure to deal with a young man like that. The young man in question brought the car round with a graceful sweep and pulled up noiselessly level with the doorstep. How do you do, he said, taking off his cap and bowing slightly to Nancy and Mrs. Peyton. The colonel stepped out and offered his hand. How are you, Mr. Leslie? He inquired. Very good of you to come round and drive us yourself. Now you're making cars of your own. You don't do much of that sort of thing, I suppose, eh? What? I can totally see this guy. What? Not often, said Leslie gravely. Unless people specifically ask me, I generally send one of the men. Nancy's eyes sparkled merrily. May I sit in front with the driver, Father? She asked. I love to watch him pull out the handles.
I'll bet.
Oh, she gonna get some road head.
She is not subtle.
She's like, I want to play with this stick shift. The colonel looked a trifle embarrassed. Oh, I expect Mr. Leslie doesn't like to be asked questions while he's driving, Nancy. It seemed to him curious that his daughter failed to recognize that Leslie was a cut above the ordinary chauffeur. I hope Miss Peyton will sit in front if she wishes to, said Leslie. I don't in the least mind being asked questions. One gets used to it, you know.
You know, kids.
Kids as in, like, this 25-year-old woman who's nasty. All right. Nancy did not wait for any further discussion, but jumped lightly into the vacant seat while a solemn-looking butler proceeded to stow a hamper in the back of the car. The colonel and Mrs. Peyton then took their places, and Leslie, slipping in his clutch, turned the car round and started off and up the road. It was a beautiful summer day of blue and gold, and the 25 miles to Beechwood lay through some of the fairest country in England. Pleasantly warmed by the sun and lulled by the gentle drone of the motor, the old people lay back in their comfortable seats and gazed contentedly at the passing scenery. Not so Nancy, who, sitting upright with a demure smile on her face and mischief in her eyes, proceeded to question Leslie with an apparently artless enthusiasm as to the various parts of the car.
That ellipses added by Heather,
that was
not
not
by
there.
Victor. the various parts
of
the
car. That's just artistic interpretation. Is this we're having now sound effects.
Yeah, I'm doing
vibrating down the road.
I'm doing live Foley.
All right, live Foley. He answered her seriously and politely, never smiling or varying from the respectful tone of a temporary employee.
Yeah, that's exhausting.
Yeah. I hope Nancy isn't bothering that young man too much, observed the Colonel in an undertone to his wife. Mrs. Peyton beamed good-naturedly at the couple in front. Oh, people of that sort like to be asked questions, she whispered back. He's proud to show off his car to Nancy. You can be sure of that. So many innuendos.
Yeah, his car.
So many innuendos. I only hope she won't make him run us into a ditch with her chattering, was the Colonel's rejoinder. That this tragedy was successfully avoided may be gathered by the fact that half an hour later, the car pulled up in a little woodland clearing just above the Beechwood village. It was a charming spot carpeted with soft, mossy turf.
It's too much.
This is so good.
It's too much.
I'm obsessed with this guy. Why have we not read him before?
It's too much.
This is a fucking modern day sitcom. It's like Bridgerton. This is brilliant.
I mean, it's barely a sitcom. It's almost an erotic novel.
It's like Bridgerton. It's like Jane Austen, but nasty. It's like without the manners. It's Jane Austen without the manners. It's like, let me just sit on your stick shift.
Come over and enjoy my mossy lawn.
My mossy lawn, and I shove this eclair in my mouth. It's nasty. I love it.
Come picnic on the mossy mound.
It's so good. Soft mossy turf is actually what it says. Come picnic on the soft mossy turf. It's so good. This is delightful. It was a charming spot carpeted with soft, mossy turf and hemmed in on 3 sides with trees. From the fourth, the Buckinghamshire countryside stretched out in a magnificent rolling panorama of 20 miles. After a brief and whispered consultation with his wife, Colonel Peyton turned to Leslie. I hope you'll lunch with us, Mr. Leslie, he said. I have brought plenty for 4. Leslie bowed. I shall be very pleased to, he answered. And going round to the back of the car, he proceeded to assist Nancy in getting out the hamper. Yeah. The lunch looked most attractive spread out on a clean white cloth.
That's how it often goes.
It's a sushi lunch.
I don't remember if I have shared this story on the podcast or not. When I was in high school,
oh no.
I
don't know the story, so
when I was in high school, an a cappella group called Tonic Sofa came and performed a vocal workshop thing, class session, whatever, with the choir students at my high school. And it started with they gave a short version of a concert, and then they started the clinic. Yeah. One of the songs they sang was Simon and Garfunkel's Cecilia.
Okay.
But someone
told me this
along the line decided that the virtuous and innocent ears of high school choir students
in Minnesota, in small town Minnesota,
should not hear a song about making love in the afternoon. And so someone decided that the line should be changed to making lunch However, that is the only word that was changed.
Which
so the
I would argue
lyrics
sounds nastier.
The lyrics ran, making lunch in the afternoon with Cecilia up in my bedroom. I got up to wash my face.
Yeah.
When I come back to bed, someone's taken my place.
He's like,
that song just became very vivid.
Yeah, it makes
That
it dirtier.
Is really explicit.
At least making love sounds like, oh, it's romantic. It's very like endearing. But making lunch in the afternoon, it's like,
And apparently it made a mess of his face.
So gonna eat it out. I mean,
and then he walks away, and in comes someone else.
Oh Lord, it's like a drive-through.
Hello, welcome to Cecilia's drive-thru. How may I service you?
How may I service you? It's so good. Oh my God, that is glorious.
Jesus Christ.
All right, so they're getting their hamper out and they're spreading it out on a white clean cloth. For, like many elderly soldiers, Colonel Peyton regarded food as only slightly inferior in importance to religion and good breeding. Seated beside Mrs. Peyton, Leslie found himself being patronized by that complacent lady with all the well-meaning condescension of their kind. You must eat a good lunch, Mr. Leslie, she observed. They're like, when we get to the church, that's what we're going to do. She observed, helping him generously to cold game pie. I am sure it will be the most tiring drive. That great heavy car. Did you just call her daughter fat?
Yeah.
To say nothing of answering all your questions, eh, Nancy? Put in the Colonel. Have some champagne. He held out the bottle to Leslie.
Before you drive us home, have some champagne.
Drink up. That was before they were worried about that kind of stuff. The latter filled up Mrs. Peyton's glass and then helped himself. Driving a car nowadays isn't a very tiring business, he explained, especially when one is used to it. Well, I mean to try it before long, said the Colonel. One has to take the infernal things in self-defense. What? I shall probably come down on you. Oh, what?
Whoa!
It's a family affair. It's a family affair. I shall probably come down on you now you've taken to making cars yourself. Sir Herbert Temple tells me they're excellent. Nancy clapped her hands. Oh, Father, that will be delightful, she said. And can't you get Mr. Leslie to come and drive us? Leslie bit his lip to stop himself from smiling. My dear child, said Colonel, Mr. Leslie is much too busy a man for that sort of thing. It's very good of him to come today. I suppose the motor car business is a very thriving industry, hazarded Mrs. Peyton vaguely. Do you make them yourself, Mr. Leslie? With a little assistance, answered Leslie. It's rather complicated work, you know. It must be, said Mrs. Peyton sympathetically. The tires alone, for instance. I can't think of how you can cut all those funny patterns on the rubber. What a perfect day for a picnic, isn't it? I love these people. This is the worst. I love it.
I do want to know more about the woman in red and the ferret-faced man. What? I hope they come back.
Yes. Having taken this abrupt aesthetic turn, the conversation wandered away into general channels until, by a natural process, it drifted back to the immediate surroundings of the party. I want to see the church, said Nancy, throwing... I am so obsessed with these people. I I want to be in this play. It's so stupid. I'm so happy.
I kind of want to be in this family.
I know I don't want to be in this family. I just want to be in this play. It's really funny. It's like, Orange, August Osage County, but of Britain 1800s. It's like destructive family. I want to see the church, said Nancy, throwing a little sidelong glance at Leslie. I believe it's most awfully interesting. Cardinal Wolsey did something or other in it. The church, inquired Colonel Peyton, in whom lunch had induced certain symptoms of restfulness. What church? Where is it? He's passing out. I believe it's down in the village, answered Nancy innocently. I could walk down and back before you're ready to start. I don't think you'd better, said the Colonel. You probably meet some drunken tramp. Well, perhaps Mr. Leslie could walk me down, suggested Nancy. I do want to see the church frightfully. That was why I suggested Beechwood. I would be delighted to, said Leslie simply. Colonel Peyton looked a little doubtful. The young man certainly seemed most respectful and well-mannered, but, well, after all, where was the harm? Having asked him to lunch, it would appear rather unkind to refuse his well-meant offer, especially as the suggestion had originally come from Nancy.
Oh, they're playing him.
Yep. Go along with you then, said the Colonel good-naturedly. But don't be late. We want to start back by 3. Side by side, Nancy and Leslie set off down the hill. For some little way, Nancy was bubbling over with suppressed merriment, which only found its escape when they rounded the corner of the hill where they were out of sight of the older people. Then she thrust her arm upon Leslie and broke into a long ripple of laughter. Oh, George, dear, she said. I thought I should have exploded. Your face was simply lovely. Leslie smiled contently. If it comes to that, he retorted, you're looking rather nice yourself this morning, Nancy. Nancy squeezed his arm gently. That's very pretty, she said, but you mustn't say that sort of thing too often, George, or I shall think you've been practicing. Where are we going to? Why, to the church, of course, answered Leslie. Nancy wrinkled her nose. But I don't want to go to the church, she protested. It's sure to be all dusty and stuffy, and there'll be some sort of horrid old man who'll want to crawl around with us and point out Cardinal Wolsey. Let's go and sit in the woods somewhere and just talk. Leslie shook his head. No, Nancy, he said sternly. I can't encourage such deception. Come along to the church. Nancy sighed. Oh, dear, she murmured. That's the worst of loving a man with a chin like yours. I shouldn't be half so frightened of you if you'd had a beard, George. Will you grow one, please, when we're married? You shall have whiskers if you want them, said Leslie tenderly. Nancy laughed and, withdrawing her arm, stopped to pick 2 or 3 flowers that were nestling in the hedgerow. There you are, she said, putting them in his buttonhole. Bing!
It's good to be clear about which hole you're sticking them in.
Then she turned up her face.
It's always a conversation.
Yeah. Gotta have that conversation first. Then she turned up her face. You may kiss me now if you like. Leslie put his hands on her shoulders and kissed her very gently. Nancy patted his sleeve. You dear obstinate old thing, she said. I believe you like me rather after all. I do a little, said Leslie quietly. Walking side by side, they came out on the bend of the hill that leads down into Beechwood Village. The small hamlet with its thatched cottages lay spread out below them in the warm July sunshine. What a sweet place, isn't it? Said Nancy. There's the church. She pointed down to the little square tower, half hidden amongst the trees. And don't look, there's someone outside with a motor car. I suppose he's come to see Cardinal Wolsey, too. Leslie said nothing. He was busy flickering away some dust from his coat with his handkerchief. He's left the car and gone inside, went on Nancy. What fun! Let's steal it, George, and go for a ride. Wow!
Grand Theft Auto, Victorian countryside.
Don't get 5 stars or all the cardinals will be following you. Confess! 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 Shame! Shame!
Your top speed down the country road is
15
40 kilometers per hour. Which is like 20.
Which is like 20, and like the horses can only run that fast for so long.
That's the trick. You just have to outlast the police.
Yes, that's it. I don't think we'd better, said Leslie. He might be the bishop inspecting. Nancy shook her head. Bishops never inspect, she said decidedly. They sit at home and swear at the government. I know, because my uncle's one.
Fucking PM.
I love this so much. Well, we'll go inside too and see what he's doing, said Leslie. Perhaps he's breaking open the poor box. Hopefully to give to the poor
To give
and
to
not
the poor.
to give to himself.
Not just because he needs to head down the pub.
Apparently. They turned in under the old wooden gateway and walked up the churchyard path. The door of the porch was open, and as they entered, Leslie closed it behind them. At that moment, the organ broke softly into music. Are they about to get married? Did he just set up an elopement?
Sly fucker.
Oh, shit! Oh, shit! It broke into soft music. Nancy slipped her arm into her companion's. Oh, dear, she whispered. I believe there's a service on. As she spoke, an elderly clergyman in a surplice. It's like the
Surplice.
Surplice, yeah. An elderly clergyman in a surplice came out suddenly from a side door in the chancel. Yeah. He walked slowly to the steps and stood there with a book in his hand, looking down the aisle towards them. It's our wedding service, said Leslie simply. I'm obsessed. This is such a good story.
He's going, I'm going to get laid tonight if I have to trick you into marrying me.
All the color went suddenly out of Nancy's face. She stood for a moment as if turned to white marble, while the sound of the organ rose louder and louder, mounting up triumphantly into a fretted roof, and filled all the church with its joyous harmony. She tried to speak, but somehow or another the words refused to come, and she felt Leslie's arms tighten. And then she was walking up the aisle while the music sank and died into low, melodious tones. She had a vague impression of 2 men getting up from the front pew. Gathered together, sight of God, face of this congregation, joined together, man and woman, holy matrimony, honorable estate instituted. But this was impossible, absurd. She couldn't be married like this. What was Leslie thinking of? The man must stop. The monotonous drone continued. Have this woman, wedded wife, live together, God's ordinance, holy estate, matrimony, lover, comfort, honor, keeper, sickness, and in health, forsaking all other, keep thee only unto her, as long as you both shall live? Leslie's voice came, cheerful and distinct. I will. Have this man, wedded husband, live together, God's ordinance, holy estate, matrimony, obey him, serve him, love, honor, and keep him, sickness, health, forsaking all other, keep thee only unto him, so long as you both shall live? Nancy gasped. Who giveth this woman married this man? There was a shuffle of feet, and somebody stepped forward beside her. Nancy found herself holding Leslie's hand. Her mind seemed to be a whirling wilderness of amazed protest. What was she to do? Why had she spoken before? She wouldn't be married like this. She wouldn't. It was so hateful of Leslie. What was it the man wanted her to say? I, Nancy, take thee, George, wedded husband, having to hold. Somehow she had stumbled through the responses, and then she was kneeling beside Leslie, and her hand was still in his. It was too late now. She was married. Married, and all the protests in the world would be worse than useless. Even the parson's drone seemed to ring with a note of finality. Those whom God hath joined together, let no man put asunder. Of what happened immediately after, Nancy never had a very clear idea. She remembered signing a book and shaking hands with two complete strangers and being congratulated by the old clergyman. And at last, she and Leslie were alone. And then Nancy began to cry. Don't, dearest, don't, said Leslie. He took her in his arms and kissed her wet eyes and quivering lips. Oh, how could you? How could you? She hid her face against his coat, and somehow the laughter forced its way through her tears. Oh, George, you beast! You bully! It was the only way, my Nancy. His voice was very tender, and the steady gray eyes looked down at her alit with love. She took his handkerchief out of his pocket and dabbed her eyes. I'll never forgive you, never! It was horrible of you, George. You came the old mischievous smile like a flash of sunshine through the rain. However did you do it, dear? I got a special license on Saturday, said Leslie calmly. Then I came down here, saw the parson, and told him we'd be ready at 2:00. I said we might keep him waiting, so I paid double fees. Nancy burst into a ripple of laughter. Oh, George, she said, I think you must be the devil. Well, he took up the bargain quick enough. Then I told Morton, my partner, to come down with another car and wait outside the churchyard. Directly he saw me coming, he was to go in and start the parson, and that's how everything was ready. It was quite a simple matter, really. But it's only the beginning, said Nancy. Think of father and mother. I have, said Leslie. Morton is driving them home. I have given him a letter explaining the circumstances. We shall go back in another car. Nancy collapsed. And then? She inquired faintly. Then I shall take you to Claridge's and go round and see your father. I want to apologize to him. Nancy shuddered. What do you think he'll say? Leslie took her two hands and drew her towards him. Dearest, he said, your father and I are going to be great friends. She looked up in his strong, kind face, and then she gave a little happy laugh. George, she said, I'm glad you've got a chin like that. It makes me feel so safe. The end. I love it so much.
That was so dumb.
I am obsessed with that story. That was so funny and so, that was like reading a play, and it was amazing, and I did not see that coming.
That was
like an Agatha Christie twist without anyone dying.
Without anyone getting murdered. Yeah. I think that might have been one of the dumber stories we've ever read.
Absolutely, but
that was great.
I can see Netflix being like, I'd like to make a movie out of it. Like, people would watch the shit out of that rom-com.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. My only complaint is I have no idea what happened to Red Dress and Ferret Face.
maybe they're a common thread through all those stories in that book. Maybe they always observe the main characters at the beginning, and then the main characters go off and do their thing.
We'll have to read more stories and find out.
We'll have to read another story.
It was a fun one.
That was super fun. I really enjoyed it. I mean, it was dumb, and then there was a twist, and it was great. And the characters were like, I made the correct choices on every character without even thinking about it.
All the voices,
Like,
well, I think all of the characters are they're stamped archetypes enough that it's fairly easy to figure out sort of what their deal is.
Like the way she described her parents, it was very easy once the parents started talking to be like, okay, these are uppity, uppers.
They're well-to-do, and he's a colonel.
And he's
cool.
A colonel.
Giant mustache.
Giant mustache, and
probably more mustache than face,
and very large. Like I see him as like Colonel Mustard, like very much that. And then the wife is like a little bit wee and like a little like delicate, and she's like, if my corset doesn't fit, then I can't stop eating. She's like that woman. Even though no one wears corsets anymore, she still does.
Although the book came out in 1920.
That was when.
So it's
the young people were not.
Yeah, the young people weren't anymore.
Exactly.
But
she's like the Maggie Smith, but not quite Maggie Smith's age. She's very holding on to tradition.
Mm-hmm.
See, I want to see the sequel when Mommy and Daddy find out, because I bet that's not as cute as he makes it theme.
I am curious.
Makes it seem.
I am curious what Act 2 of this play is.
Oh yeah. I think there's 3 acts to this play. There's that, and then there's Mommy and Daddy finding out, and that whole story.
Yep.
And then there's the 3rd act, which is the culmination of all.
Where Arsène Lupin shows up, and
very Shaw.
Very Shaw, yeah.
Very like Misalliance, or like one of those. Like, yeah. Well, that was fun. I enjoyed that very much.
Yeah. Hey, listener, what'd you think of that story? Did you enjoy it? Do you like stories that apparently have very little point to them?
I think the point was like, fuck it, just do like marry the people you love and
just chill out.
Just do what you like.
Yes. Because I enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Go ahead and reach out. Send us your opinions and of course messages. Your happy birthday messages to 5050artsproduction@gmail.com or to any of our social media. That's Campfire Classics on any of the social media
the Twitter
outlets.
And the Instagrams and all those.
Send a happy birthday song, message, dance. Tell us what you thought of the story. Show us a video of you popping a bottle of kava. And please include somewhere in the message this week's secret passcode, which is Dick Chin.
Dick Chin! I'm so glad you have a chin like that. It makes me feel so safe.
That's everything I got.
That's all
Anything
I got, too.
From you?
I
Cool.
can't, it is what it is.
Well, then, thanks for listening. And until next week, this has been Campfire Classics, where we try to read those books that look really good on your shelf.
Yay! They got married! Cheers!